You're listening to Brandon Sports Talk, interviewing professional athletes and Paralympians and Olympians. And now for your professional athlete interview and your host, Brandon P.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the Ireland Paralympian para track and field runner, Gretchen Sieminikita. How are you doing today?
I'm very good, and how are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get started in competing in track and field?
Well, it all started when I came to Ireland, and then I kind of, you know, started, came to new school, new people, and it kind of took me a while actually, to adapt to new culture and learn the language. And then a couple of years later, when I was in school, there was an opportunity to run for our school in a community race, and we were, as a family, we were quite sporty. So I just like, and we were known in school to be quite sporty with my brother and sister. So our PE teacher was only automatic that he came, oh, like, would you like to go and give it a go? And I did, and I ran my first race. It was an 800-meter race, and then after that, it kind of all kicked off. I joined the athletics club close to my home, and I started training, and just one thing led to another. Yeah, and then here I am.
Of course, what was that feeling like getting to represent your country of Ireland and getting to race, run for them?
Yeah, I was very, very proud, very privileged to represent Ireland in the best of my abilities. I was really grateful, um, because there was a lot of, first of all, I was grateful representing the country itself, and then obviously take into consideration there was so many people behind the scenes that helped me to get there. So I think it was a number of reasons and a number of elements that, include like a lot of elements that got together for me to kind of feel the pride and be happy out there competing and just grateful. So I think it was a lot of elements involved, not just one reason.
In 2016, what was that experience like getting to go to Italy and getting to compete in the European Para Athletic Cup?
So it was my first European Championships. So I didn't. So there was a lot for me to learn. I don't know what to expect. It was very good opportunity to have a warm up, kind of go, well, you can't compare Paralympic Games with the European, the level is completely different. But it was a very good opportunity to learn about athletics at the highest level in Europe, to see some of my competitors, to how all the major champion process works, and all the elements surrounding that. So it was a great learning curve for me, and yeah, and it really helped me for the 2016 Paralympic Games.
Of course, how did that European Para Athletic Championship prepare you for the 2016 Rio Games? And what was that feeling like getting to make that 2016 Rio?
So I think it did taught me, like, it taught me all the process that involves the call rooms, the spirit, the atmosphere around the major championships, because it is different than competing at home. Like I said, meeting my competitors, racing, I guess every racing major championships is something that we learn every time how to do it better, the mistakes that we did, what worked, what didn't. So that helped me for Rio. I knew there's going to be, heats making the final. So that element, was really important. And I think going through the rounds, because I already went to European Championships, it wasn't such a big of a shock when it came to Rio 2016 Paralympic Games. So I think from that perspective, it kind of gave me a bit more confidence just to be there. And like I said, I already knew some of my competitors, so it gave us knowledge to make certain decisions around races.
Of course, what was that moment like when you did make that Paralympic team to go to Rio in 2016 for your first Paralympics?
What was the feeling like?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was equally, well, it was a bigger stage, so it was even bigger for me. I think it was a lot of nerves, a lot of nerves involved, a lot of I think it was more disappointment element. It's like not disappoint people who help you to be there. Um, not I think it was more I think similar to Europeans, it was gratitude, but it's more like it just I think as an athlete at the major championships kind of put a bit of a pressure because you it's the first one, like you want to be as best as you can be, like there was so many people to help you to get there. I think, yeah, I remember being very nervous before my final heats and the final and then the final. um the race, like I remember, I even to this day I remember that 2016 Paralympic Games. It was one of the most painful championships in terms of it hurt really a lot to run it. Absolutely dead in the finish line. So like I know, like I remember that champion just like I did by absolutely everything. There was nothing more to give. So, and that was a very good experience to have in the first major championships, and it was a great stepping stone and um for the rest of my upcoming races in my athletics career.
Of course, what was that a feeling like getting to experience that with your friends and family, having them see you compete at the biggest stage of them all?
Well, it's hard to say because they weren't there in Rio. They weren't there, so I don't know. I think it's for them. I can't really answer that question. I don't know how they felt. They probably, what my family would say, they were really nervous and wanted me to do well. For my dad, it was hard to watch me, going through the laps and seeing my face all tired but still going. I think every person has their own experiences and that they experience, and from the parents or brothers and sisters perspective I can't really step into their shoes, but I think there were, but I was, for me personally, I was really happy that I had such a great support behind me.
Of course, what was that preparation after leaving Rio and getting prepared for Tokyo in 2020? What was that preparation like for you?
So we just learned from what went right, what went wrong. So after, just before COVID hit, so we all know that the games got extended by a year. So I took it as a blessing in the skies that gave me extra time to train more. I changed my coach, which meant my training has changed. There was more volume involved, more than I have ever done in my athletics training prior. So all these, I think it was 3 years after the Paralympic Games, running into the fourth year. So the year before um, Tokyo, that was when, yeah, that's where when my training increased, and I think that's gave me a lot of, it, like I improved a lot from that, I think.
Of course, getting to Tokyo, what was that feeling like getting to race for the second time in your Paralympic journey?
Well, I was more experienced athlete. It was 5 years after uh, I grown more as a person. I grown more as an athlete. I think that is, I think it made me faster, made me a bit better at racing, executing the race plan. Um, yeah, I think it just in general made I was a better athlete. I enjoyed the competitive side even more. I think it was a great race, the great final that we had, and you just, but I guess these things you just like as long as you're in the athletics journey, like it doesn't really end. Like you do one championships, you learn something from them, and you move on to the next one, and you hope you train and every day, and you just hope that next championships will be better and better and better. Like that's all the goals at the end of the day should being, being the best athlete as that you can be, and hopefully that the times and the medals can replicate that.
What are some of your favorite memories and moments getting to be a Paralympian and represent Ireland?
What are my favorites?
Hmm.
Um, I think would that be Olympic or Paralympic Games? Everyone can agree, probably from the athlete perspective, that a lot of that is just something else about that major championships that comes every 4 years, and I think that is just comes with the major championships, and it's really hard to explain it in words. It just like people ask me, it's like, but you just can't. So I think making a second two Paralympic Games so far, and hopefully going for the third one. I think just being with your team, being there, soaking in the atmosphere, taking, all these small things surrounding the major championships, and not necessarily the wins or the losses, but I think just soaking in the all the atmosphere around the games. I think that is something that no other major championships can give.
Of course, while at the Paralympics, did you ever have that Mama I Made It moment? And what was that feeling like when you did have that Mama I Made It moment?
Uh, I don't know if I really had that. I don't know if I really had I made it moment. If I'm honest, because I think it was like I was really happy that I made it the games. So I think that was more prior prior to the games itself. When I stood on that start line, I didn't really thought about that I made it. I more was thinking about, okay, what else steps I need to do to make to the final. I mean, and even after when I was standing at the start line for the final, the only thoughts for me was, what do I need to do? So I do, because I feel like made it is something that like your journey is concluded. Like my journey is not concluded, so by making one games, because my aim was to make a few. So I don't know, I find it really hard to answer this question, if you know what I mean.
What does it mean to be a Paralympian and represent Ireland?
um what does it mean? Well, I think it means that as an athlete, I'm good enough to be at the highest stage of the para sport and represent Ireland from that perspective. So I'm good enough. I'm good enough to be there. I'm good enough to compete. I'm good enough to go for a medal every year, even though it might not necessarily happen, but you have to have goals. So it just it just means that I can be there in the mix with like other girls, and they're representing their country. They're being chosen as as the athletes to represent. So I think it's pride that is involved, and just doing as best as you can on the day, and then representing yourself, because you represent yourself, and then you represent your country. And if you do well, then if you make it, you'll stand there, and I think every athlete would do it for that moment when, like, you're standing at the podium and the three flags are raised, or if you're lucky enough the national anthem will be playing. I think, like, that's the experience that I associate with, let's say, winning gold in European championships, because for me that was the moment when you stood at the podium and the national anthem is playing, and then that is the pride and the joy, and you're like, oh, the anthem is playing because you were able to you know come first. So I think you kind of try to kind of link with that.
Of course, at that European Championship when you won gold, what was that feeling like getting to put it around your neck?
Yeah, it was a lot of pride, a lot of happiness, a lot of pride, that you kind of that you you made your country proud.
Of course, what was that feeling like getting to represent your country and having Ireland on your track uniform?
Um, can you repeat the question?
Mhm. What is that feeling like getting to wear your track uniform and having Ireland on your chest representing the country of Ireland?
I Yeah, I think it's equally the same as a parent. Like like it doesn't really change, what I wear on the track. Like, I know vest for some people, maybe like the green vest is like you're proud to wear it, but you're wearing it because you're there to represent. So I think the both elements are equally the same.
Of course, how does it feel to have PLY behind your last name?
I don't have it.
Of course, what are some of your favorite memories and moments competing in both Paralympics from 2016 and 2020?
2020. Um, with the Rio, it was the atmosphere. With Tokyo, we didn't really had atmosphere, but the race itself was a great race. Like, you've crossed the finish line. I was like, well, that was a battle. So I guess, yeah, the two elements, I think, take into consideration how much sport improved through 5 years. I think, yeah, the racing was definitely an element to remember.
What are some of your rituals for race day?
I think, like, majority athletes would be music, really helps, and then just following the usual routine. I think that really kind of makes all the difference. And I think if you follow the usual routine, everything kind of falls into place, and then you're kind of ready to go.
Of course, what is that like getting to race alongside some of your Ireland teammates like Mary Fitzpatrick and Jordan Lee?
Well, I don't really, in terms of like, just competing with them, or
Mhm.
sorry, like training with them, or what's the question?
What is that feeling like getting to race alongside and getting to compete against some of your teammates?
I don't really well, I only see them when we're selected on the same team, so I don't really see them that often. It's great to have them. I think they're great people, but I don't train with them as such. I don't really. I see them probably, a couple of, probably 4 times a year, or 5 times a year if I'm lucky. But regardless, it's nice to have them on the team.
Of course, who are some of the people that you look up to in the track and field community?
So, well, we have very great athletes like Kieran McGeehan. We had Jason Smith was one of the greatest. He retired, but he's still, still somebody to look up to. We have Michael McCullough. There's a good few. I think there's good few athletes. Ireland has produced like very good, like a good few athletes now these days. I think the sport really moved forward and grown. So there's definitely a good few athletes to look up to. So it's great. It's great to have them.
What is that like getting to race alongside some different countries like US and Canada?
US, yes, yeah, US have some great athletes and like yeah, like I treat every country as the same, Canada as well. Like it's any country, would that be US, would that be Canada, would that be Poland? It doesn't really for me makes any difference, if I'm honest.
What is that like getting to meet your fans and having them ask for your autographs and photos with you?
Um yeah, it's nice. Like it's yeah, it makes me smile and I'm very grateful
Of course,
for
what
that.
are some of your future plans looking forward in your para track and field career?
Making the team for Paris.
Of course, in the future,
That would be the main, yeah, yeah, the main goal for now.
are you looking to compete in the Paris Paralympics and the LA Paralympics? And what are you doing to prepare for those?
Yes, I hope so. Yeah, like I said, Paris, maybe LA. Hopefully we'll see what the future holds. And just train every day and do what I need to do, recover well, work on the small things that makes me a better athlete. All the trying to make the best, take them as much as you know, train as much as you can and be injury free and all the little things. All the little things get you to the start line. So yeah.
What advice would you give those people in track and field that are looking to represent a country, whether it's US, Canada, or another country like Ireland?
Um, I think that if you find what you love and if you do love sport, I think it's gonna come naturally. You would want to put and do everything what you can to be as best as you can be. But I think just to be patient and just to put in the work and just that's all that you can do and wait for that work to pay off.
What advice would you give those people that are looking to compete for the Paralympics or Olympics for the first time?
Um, I think the advice would be the same. It doesn't really change. I think when it comes to sport, I think patience is the key element to success, I think.
What advice would you give those people that are going for their second or multiple Paralympics and Olympics like you have?
Um, what advice for I think just soak in every moment that you're there and just compete, but also value the experience that the games bring you.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media?
Instagram, Streimkyte Greta.
Thank you again, Gretchen Kimitieta, for your interview and best of luck in your future with the Ireland Paralympic as a para track and field runner.
Thank you so much for having me.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Gretchen, for your interview and best of luck in your future.
Thank you. Bye.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.